Yeah, exactly. Only two Republicans in the end opposed Kash Patel's nomination, and that's a bit of a surprise given what an unusual pick he was, not really matching the qualifications of previous FBI directors, and also somebody who is so political, such a bomb thrower, somebody who threatened at one point to close down FBI headquarters and turn it into a museum of the deep state. Now, he has since said that he won't do that, but today he is vowing a transparent, accountable agency. He's saying he wants to look forward. He is not talking about exacting retribution against people that he believed weaponized the FBI against Donald Trump and his allies. And so it's really unclear what kind of FBI director he's going to be, because if you look at his public statements in the past, he really focused on the idea that the FBI was politicized and he needed to root out bad actors within the FBI. But today he's looking forward and talking about going after criminals and terrorists. So open question how he is going to lead the FBI.
More to come. Ken Delanian, thanks so much.
The public spat between President Trump and Ukraine is escalating. Mr. Trump repeating his attacks on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, again denouncing him as a, quote, dictator. We should note Mr. Zelensky was democratically elected in 2019. Ukraine's constitution bars elections during martial law, which was imposed in Ukraine after Russia invaded. Meanwhile, the push to end the war, which enters its fourth year next week, is still underway. The White House envoy for the region is in Kyiv today to meet with Mr. Zelensky. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel is in Ukraine as well. He's in Kharkiv and joins us now. Richard, good to see you. The U.S. had been one of Ukraine's closest allies since this war began. The relationship seems to have soured so quickly. What are you hearing where you are on the ground? How are Ukrainians responding?
Well, there's a reaction from the Ukrainian people, and the Ukrainian people are watching this with deep concern. The U.S. has been the essential ally for Ukraine for the last 3 years. The Ukrainian military has fought long and hard battles. The Ukrainian population have pulled together. That almost everyone here volunteers in some way to help the national cause. You can't go to a shop and they're not selling bracelets or T-shirts to support the army or some sort of volunteer group. But without U.S. support, most Ukrainians understand that they probably would have lost more territory, if not the entire country, to Russia. Russia's just a much bigger adversary, has many more troops. It is just a larger enemy that they're having to fight. So they're very nervous that President Trump seems to be backing away, seems to be abandoning Ukraine. And I spoke to Ukrainian civilians today at an underground school here, and they still go to school here in shelters because there are frequent Russian attacks, and they were very nervous that Russian troops who aren't far away, the Russian border's not very far from here, could one day take over this city if the Americans are stopped giving military aid, or if President Trump decides that he's no longer committed to Ukraine's defense. So this is not a war of words. This is a matter of life and death for the people here. For the government, I think it's becoming increasingly clear why this rift broke out and what President Trump wants. I had heard early in the week that it was about this minerals deal, that when President Zelensky refused to sign the deal that was presented by Treasury Secretary, Trump's Treasury Secretary, that the delegation was annoyed, that they were pressured into signing it on the spot, that it was a non-negotiable deal, a short document, sign it right away, and they refused. And now we heard today from National Security Advisor Waltz and from Trump himself saying the Ukrainians shouldn't have rejected that deal. They should sign the deal. We still want to do the deal. It's still on the table. So it seems this deal and Ukraine's refusal to sign it was an issue for Trump and remains an issue for Trump. And today, President Zelensky tried to his utmost not to pick a fight and not to escalate this even further. They were supposed to have a press conference. They didn't have the press conference. And then after the meeting with President Trump's envoy, Zelensky put out a statement on X saying how appreciates American strength, all that America has done, and there was no mention at all of any past disagreements or any of the sharp words that have been thrown at him.
Yeah. So Richard, and the question is, what happens now? Where do the negotiations over ending this conflict go?
there's been a loss of trust here, and there is a sense in Ukraine that the United States is no longer a reliable backer, and that President Trump doesn't really have Ukraine's back and isn't in Ukraine's corner and is much more interested in negotiations with Vladimir Putin. And I've heard that from people on the street. I've heard that from government officials in Ukraine, that they believe President Trump favors Putin and is much more interested in pursuing a relationship, economic and otherwise, with him than he is in Ukraine, and that he believes Ukraine is Europe's problem. So the Ukrainians are starting to look toward Europe, trying to see if there might be some solution there.
Richard Engel, great to have you there in Ukraine. Thank you so much.
And still to come, Elon Musk sets his sights on the next federal agency where he wants to make major cuts, where the money he expects to save is likely to go. That's ahead right here on NBC.